Time for this week's RSPW Rewind, taking a stroll down memory lane to see what people were talking about, what fans on the internet were talking about back when the internet wasn't quite what it is today. We've got some random posts to comb through, starting with December 11, 1995, a post by Rob Spare about Royal Rumble 1996, which was coming up in a matter of weeks. Says, well, I can see the WWF is still not listening. I received my cable guide for pay-per-view in January, and it seems the price has gone up. Last year it was the standard $24.95, but this year it's $29.95. I'll still buy it, but it better be good. This was the price increase to $29.95 for all WWE pay-per-views. This is a big deal back then. That was the same year they started offering the in-your-house shows for $14.95. Dark Sun says, what? They're raising prices on all pay-per-views? I might just have to skip one or two of them now. And Herc Wad, that's a weird name, Herc Wad, says, well, the pay-per-views more often than not are lower than your expectations, and with higher prices imminent, you shouldn't order most of them. I have taken a drastic measure. I pretty much stopped watching all pay-per-views thanks to RSPW. I just take about 4 minutes and I look for the results. Most of the guys that post give clear results, and if I at least have the news, I don't want to go through the rest holes. That's interesting. Kind of similar to what I hear today, when people tell me that they stopped watching the shows and only listen to the podcast to keep up with the news. I guess 25 years ago, that was the form that it took back then, and today it's, hey, I listened to your show, so I don't have to watch the shows anymore. November 23rd, 1996, a post by Eli. How will WWF fill 70,000 seats at the Royal Rumble? Actually, they didn't. They didn't fill 70,000 seats. They were aiming for 70. They were talking about it on television as 70 in the weeks leading up to the show. But they announced 60,000, which is still impressive. It's still very impressive for a non-WrestleMania show. At a time, you got to remember, when business was hardly booming for the company. 96, 97, they weren't doing their best business back then. And they had a legit 60,000 people. Now, I do believe that show was largely papered. I think there was a lot of papering, a lot of freebies going on. So there was that, but they did have 60,000 people in the building. Anyway, Eli says, the WWF hasn't been in an arena that big since SummerSlam 92 at Wembley Stadium, if I'm not mistaken. How will they be able to fill the Alamo Dome? December's In Your House will be packed with stuff to hype the Royal Rumble for sure. I expect to see HBK beat Sid for the belt and Bret Hart to win the Rumble in January, but that's not going to be enough. Shawn Michaels won't be turning heel until or after the Rumble, since the event is in San Antonio. The WWF's going to need AAA, ECW, independent wrestlers, Japanese wrestlers, and whoever else they can find to make this work. They must have something big in mind. What's with that huge surprise in the WWF that they're hyping for the beginning of the year? Jack Epstein responds, Shawn is getting the title shot at the Royal Rumble. Bret will win at In Your House. Shawn versus Sid won't draw 70,000, but a Bret versus Shawn ladder match will. He says Austin will win the Royal Rumble. The big surprise that they've been talking about is a late night, quote, extreme wrestling show on Saturday nights starting on January 4th. Well, we did get Shawn and Sid, but I do like Jack's idea. I do like Mr. Epstein's idea for a Bret-Shawn ladder match much more than what we got with Shawn and Sid at the Royal Rumble. And that extreme wrestling show that he mentioned turned out to be the debut of Shotgun Saturday Night. There's something very, very wrong when I go to search for those shows on WWE's own network, and I can't find them. So I have to find them on Daily Motion and watch them all on there. The hell do you have a network for if you're not going to put all your content up there? I've found in going through a lot of these old posts that RSPW also had a common opinion that WWF and WCW were constantly stealing ideas from RSPW. And for the record, I can fully believe that both companies had people working for them whose job it was, or part of their job description, was to scan the dirt sheets and scan the online message boards and report back with things that were being said. It happens to this very day with podcasts. With WWF back then, it was Howard Finkel who was said to possibly be the person who would check all these things out and report back. Now, was it Howard or somebody else? Who knows? But I've noticed an unhealthy obsession on these old RSPW posts with claiming that certain ideas and certain phrases were stolen and used on TV, and they're not all troll posts. You'll find the troll posts here and there, but they're not all troll posts. Case in point, this post from January 22nd, 1996, from James Fabiano, titled, "Perfect Should Pay Royalties to RSPW." Did anyone notice that Mr. Perfect stole one of RSPW's jokes during the Royal Rumble? When Aldo Montoya was coming down to the ring, Hennig says, "He has his jock on the wrong end." Janice Johnson poured cold water on that assertion by reminding James that he actually stole that from Doc Hendricks. Doc Hendricks said the same thing about 6 months ago on TV. Another example of this, and this may be the funniest of them all, when you think about this person stealing promo material from RSPW of all places. April 30th, 1996, a post by Patrick Davis titled, "Proof! Ric Flair reads RSPW." Just think of the absurdity of that title before I even go any further here. Ric Flair reads RSPW. Did Ric Flair even know how to work a computer back in 1996? It was about 3 weeks ago, somebody started a thread titled Ric Flair's Best Interviews. And it basically talked about Flair's best interview. Well, gee, thanks, Patrick. I never would have known otherwise had you not have cleared that up for me. It says I added my 2 cents in, and I added my favorite Ric Flair interview. It was back in the WWF days, 1991, I believe, leading up to the Royal Rumble in 92, where he won the title. Ric Flair is facing the front, and Perfect has his back to the camera. Flair starts off, "Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble." Just then, Perfect turns around and says, "When you're perfect in every way." And then Flair goes off on his usual brilliant interview. I posted this about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Flair has not repeated this since that one time in the WWF, and to my knowledge has never uttered it before. Now here's the kicker. This is him talking next. Goes, "Now here's the kicker. On the April 28th Monday Nitro, Flair comes walking to the ring and he utters the same phrase, 'Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way.' Now, you tell me, I just posted this 3 or 4 weeks ago as one of his best interviews that he's ever given. He hasn't spoken it in 5 years, but a month after I post it, he says it again. Coincidence? Who knows, but I'd like to think that Ric Flair read my message and used it." Well, there you have it, folks. You can thank Patrick for providing maybe the greatest promo man in the history of the wrestling business with the material that he so desperately needed during his time in WCW. RSPW is truly an amazing place. Oh, wait, what's that? Hold on, I'm being told something in my ear here, in my imaginary earpiece. Okay, I'm being told that we have a reply. We have a reply from somebody with the name Nature Boy. That's how he spelled it, Naitcha, Nature Boy. And he used the number 8 in his username. Nature Boy. Anyway. "Are you crazy?" he asks. "Flair used that way back in the NWA days." Cram says, not Graham, Cram. "Patrick, he's been saying it for about a month now, ever since he started messing with Savage's head again." Felix came to the rescue, trying to back up his man Patrick. He says, "True, but he hadn't done it in a while, and this might have reminded him." So I guess the mystery persists here all these years later. Did Ric Flair, in fact, get his material for that one promo in WCW from Patrick? Was he reminded by Patrick of that promo he did in the WWF and decided, you know what, that's damn good material. I think I'm going to use it again here in WCW. We may never know the answer. March 7th, 2000. The almighty Broderick, with a post titled Crash Holly, WWF rips off RSPW. Says, I tuned in and I saw the Mean Street Posse trying to pin Crash Holly as he slept in his hotel room. Is it just me, or did somebody on this news group come up with that same angle over the weekend? Macaroni Tony agrees. Best name ever. Macaroni Tony says, yes, some guy posted here last week that he would love if people burst into Crash's room and tried to pin him, and that's exactly what happened. WWF does read this group. Hopefully they will follow our advice and fire Viscera. These people are unbelievable. Holy shit, they really did fire Viscera. A few months later, in August, Viscera was released from his WWF contract. Maybe they really did listen to RSPW. This has been your weekly reminder that WWE reads RSPW. And if they do, that would explain a lot when it comes to the state of WWE television these last several years.